Thank you all for being here tonight for the benefit concert for the Last Prisoner Project, a tour through cannabis-influenced music. I think it's just great that we've got blues, we've got reggae, we've got hip-hop all happening at the same time. And I'd like to thank all of the artists, all the sponsors, George, his wife Kim, everybody who's been involved with this production, and each one of you for coming up with $150 to be here, right? I know there's a lot of cannabis advocacy organizations that are out there that are looking for support, and they all deserve support, right? There's organizations that are lobbying, there's organizations that are working to run initiatives, there are organizations that are working to educate, and they all deserve your support. The Last Prisoner Project is a little bit of a different kind of organization because we set ourselves up to go out of business, right? We just got one purpose, it's one thing, it's really simple, and when we get it done, we're out of here, okay? And we just want to see every single cannabis prisoner, not in the United States, on the entire planet Earth, free. And when we see that, when that last cannabis prisoner walks out of that last lonely cell and back into the arms of their family, and they're given the resources they need to rebuild the lives that were stolen from them, then our job will be over. It'll be finished. May that day come really, really soon. And thank you all for helping us. The origin story of the cannabis, of the Last Prisoner Project, comes in late 2017, when I, like a lot of cannabis executives from California, found myself in Toronto looking for capital for what we thought was going to be this amazing legal market in California. That's another story. But in 2017, everybody was feeling very rosy, and I found myself at the top of a skyscraper in the financial district of Toronto, sitting at a very long conference table full of spreadsheets that were talking about tons and tons and tons and tons of cannabis, and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And everybody in that room was feeling really happy, was really looking forward to this future. And in the middle of the meeting, my phone starts buzzing. Right? Now normally I don't get out of a meeting like that to go take a call, but in this case, it's my buddy Chuck. And he's calling me from prison in Pennsylvania, where he's serving 4 years for importing 14 pounds of weed from California to the state of Pennsylvania. So I go out into the hall and I take the call, and it's grim, because it's grim to talk to your friends when they're in prison. When you hear all those prison cells, when you hear that recording, when you hear the suffering in their voices. So it was grim, and that grimness was sticking to me when I came back into the conference room. And so I'm sitting there feeling grim, right? And I'm looking at everybody in the room, and they weren't on that call. They're just looking ahead to this beautiful cannabis future of hundreds of millions of dollars and tons of cannabis being grown and distributed freely. And I was like, shit, I gotta do something, right? We can't let this happen. We can't have these hundreds of millions of dollars and all these tons of cannabis move forward and forget about friends like Chuck. And so then as I started looking into it, I found out there are 40,000 other people in the United States alone, and potentially maybe as many as 1 million people worldwide who are sitting in prison now for doing something which is one of the fastest growing legal industries in the world today. So that's why we started the Last Prisoner Project, and we're going to keep it going until that goal is accomplished. You may wonder how we're doing at that. The good news is that we've actually had some really massive, amazing wins in the last couple of years. So today, Michael Thompson is free. He lives in his house in Wisconsin. He travels around organizing all sorts of people to free more prisoners, right? He was formerly the longest serving nonviolent prisoner in the state of Michigan. Richard DeLisi is free. Richard DeLisi was formerly the longest serving nonviolent prisoner in the United States of America. Richard did 30 years on a 90-year sentence. Okay, so we know what the real crime is, right? The real crime is the people who wrote those laws. And We've also been involved in helping many constituents who managed to release themselves, who got released, and aiding them and helping to rebuild their lives, and participated in state programs, compassionate release programs, and really participated in the release of hundreds of prisoners. So we're doing pretty well, but we've got a huge amount to do moving forward. You're going to hear from a few more LPP representatives in the course of this show. One of them is Shepard, who's here right in front of me. He's a released prisoner who did 10 years on a cannabis charge in the state of New York. Hear more from her. My mentee, Donte West, is going to come up and talk to you a little bit. And this is the thing that really strikes me about our movement, about the Last Prisoner Project, is that almost without exception, every single prisoner who's been released has gotten out, and the first thing that they've said is that they want to make sure that the people who are still in there come out behind them. And so that's the kind of power and that's the kind of force that's actually going to get this job done. We need your help and your support to do it, so thank you very, very much for being here tonight, for showing up.
So I want to introduce everyone here to a very special guest we have. She's been fighting so hard for her husband. And just before I bring her up on stage, I'm going to say a little bit about myself. I was incarcerated in the state of Kansas. They gave me 7 years for a pound of marijuana. Right, crazy. How many people know where Kansas is? Anybody know where Kansas is? Yeah. So, they gave me all this time. My lawyer didn't read my case. I lost my grandmother. My brothers went to foster care. And it was just a sad ordeal. So, you know, as you kind of think about these things, you got to think about not only does your freedom get taken away, but your family, you know, is affected by it because how much they miss you, got to support you. And, you know, I would call people, they couldn't give me anything, you know, but just their time. You know what I mean? I couldn't give anything to them. But, you know, I was able to fight hard with the Last Prisoner Project, and I got my conviction overturned, you know. Yeah. I was able to get my conviction overturned after I found out, as I mentioned before, my lawyer didn't even read my case, man. I fly out the week of trial, and my lawyer didn't even, you know, he tried to rush and say, file a motion, and he said, you know, I didn't read your case, you know, we try to file this motion, you know, we're gonna go to trial. I go to trial, I get found guilty. It turned me into a mode just to study law, and I get in, and then once I got released, you know, that's when I met the Last Prisoner Project and all the wonderful things they do. And a great guy by the name of DeAngelo, the prosecutor tried to offer me felony time served, and, you know, we denied it, and he was surprised. And when I denied it, and we educated this prosecutor about what a felony does to people, and he dismissed the case, man, 10 minutes later. So I'm sitting here with a free record, exonerated, and now it just feels good not to be judged with that initial. At Last Prisoner Project, we have a beautiful campaign called the Clemency Campaign, and we're focused right next door in the state of New Jersey, right? And we got a guy by the name of Humberto Ramierez that we're advocating for. He goes up to the parole board in October, and we're working hard to prepare him to do that. But in the meanwhile, we're urging Governor Murphy to act now on this particular individual. This woman that I'm going to introduce fights so hard for her husband every day, and she never gives up, and she has beautiful young daughters that wake up and look for her daddy, all over a cannabis offense. Let me introduce her on stage, Brookeanne.
Thank you, Donte. All right, guys, this is the first time for me. I am a babbling brook, but I don't have a voice for a microphone, so my apologies. My husband, Humberto Ramierez, we live in New Jersey, exit 0, and just 6 days after he was illegal, they sentenced him to 7 years in state prison. I am a nurse, we have children, and Last Prisoner Project, they're the real deal. I realized that they literally are, I refer to them as our earth angels. They helped my daughter get to dance class. They all fight. I had 2 paid lawyers that barely returned my emails. Humberto was sentenced during COVID, so we spent over a year before we could even see his face. Just 3 Sundays ago, we were able to visit. It's outside, and you need to stay 6 feet away with a mask on, even though we've all complied and we're vaccinated. But any way that you can help Last Prisoner Project, they're the real deal. I could never thank them for the love and the support that they give me. They've all become my family, not even my friends. Our friends from home don't check on me as much as they do. And we do. We have a wonderful little girl who's supposed to be graduating 8th grade this June. So we're trying to urge Governor Murphy to be home. She just got inducted into the National Honor Society 2 nights ago. If you guys could please go to Last Prisoner Project and sign the clemency campaign. Hope for Humberto. I know he made a mistake, but he truly was a good man. And thank you guys all for coming out tonight. And a special thanks to this guy, one of the smartest men I've ever spoken to in my life.
Thank you so much, Brookeanne. She fights so hard for her husband. Well, I'm going to introduce this next band, amazing performer. Her name is Hempress Sativa. Everybody give it up for Hempress Sativa. She's coming on stage.
You know, they decriminalized herb in Jamaica, but before that, I went to jail for just a little spliff. So give thanks to the Last Prisoners Project. Respect for the works that you're doing. You're doing amazing work. And I pray that everybody continue to support and strengthen the movement, because we need more movements like this. We need people who are speaking up for those who are incarcerated for some little minor issues regarding marijuana.
Everybody, I'm Shepard. I'm the partnership manager for the Last Prisoner Project. First, I want to thank you all for being here. I was a little bit nervous. I had notes. But then I thought, y'all are our people. Like, you're the reason that we've given out $150 million. $1.5 million in our inception. Big dreams, big dreams. I'm a little bit biased. I love Last Prisoner Project, and here's why. I know what it feels like to get help from them, because I did 10 years in a federal prison, and I just got out in 2019. So I know of the help that the Last Prisoner Project gives you. I know what it feels like to give that help, because now as partnership manager, I give it all the time. And I love it, and it's what I do, and it's what I'm meant to do, and I'm just happy to be here. Sorry, I have to take my notes. So yeah, I was released in 2019, first time, non-violent, cannabis conspiracy. I caught that charge, and the first time I got a mandatory minimum 10. And I did those 10 years. I did that sentence. But nobody else should be doing it. Humberto Ramierez should not be doing it. Carter Coleman should not be doing it. And the next person I'm introducing, her father should not be doing it. Richeda Sinclair's father, Ricardo Ashmeade, has been in prison for 14 years for cannabis. His daughter is now a second-year law student, an award-winning spoken word poet, an all-around awesome young lady who has excelled despite not growing up with her father because he's in prison for cannabis. So I would like you all to welcome this young lady who I love, Richeda Sinclair.
Hello, how is everyone? All right, one time, I want to
On the count of three, I'm gonna get everybody's attention. So I want to hear you say, "Free all the cannabis prisoners." 1, 2, 3.
Free all cannabis prisoners!
Period. Okay. As Stephanie said, my name is Richeda. I'll be doing a spoken word poem for you all today. I experienced my first heartbreak at 12 years old when I lost my best friend to the justice system, my father. If we could just quiet down in the back some. Perfect. And I just want to share a poem. This is called Through a Daughter's Eyes. And this poem is inspired by, as someone who's just so close to her father and has experienced really the worst years without him. This is for him, and this is something I just want to share, so if I can have your attention. It takes a lot to come up here and share your story. It takes a lot to come up here. Everybody in here has some times with the cannabis industry, but my time is I've lost a family member. A lot of people have a lot of money in it, but they're making money off of the back of black men. Yeah. Come on. And I'm here to kind of share a little bit into that.
Yes!
Go ahead, Sheeta. Let's go.
My father has always been my best friend. Quality time was the very first love language he made sure that I learned. He was really good at translating through long phone calls, daddy-daughter weekends and summers, and the last time I seen him, we spent a Saturday at the shopping mall. I remember letting go of his hand, running towards the entrance and accidentally splitting the pole. That day, I learned that my father was superstitious. Learned that most people in my family are. We duck for cover whenever the wings of an umbrella spread themselves inside a home. We throw salt over our left shoulder just for good measure. My father believes in superstitions the way he believes in God. Faked in things that some may say aren't proven, like his innocence. Called him guilty before his sentencing. When they booked him, I felt cut in half. Watched as the justice system played magician, making my father magically disappear by giving him almost a life sentence. In the courtroom, the jury became a choir. As the prosecution orchestrated a false story, created him into one of those superstitions, a curse. A year after he vanished, he reappeared with a phone call. I remember my father being both David and Goliath, a fearless giant and a scared teenage black boy. 1 in 3 black men will go to prison in their lifetime, and my father made the cut. The cannabis industry sales in California is predicted to hit 7 billion, as my father has served 14. I guess this is what they mean by double jeopardy. Different prosecutions for the same offense. The cannabis industry succeeded 23% this year, and my father is shackled to a 23-year sentence. You see, I don't believe in superstitious powers anymore. After my father has been locked away for a lifetime after a judge knocked on wood, ghosted Friday the 13th to be terrorized by the 13th Amendment, they tell us a black cat is bad enough just for being black. Say they are a sign of death, like ravens, like Jim Crow, and now I know why the cage bird sings, but they tell me, don't write anything sad in his letters. So I reenact birthday parties, graduations, give him something to celebrate. They say, smile. It's not like he's dead. I say, don't tell me how alive my father is when I mourn his absence every morning. I have to resurrect our relationship in a 10-minute phone call. Excuse me, I get emotional.
Love you. Yeah.
I resurrect our relationship in a 10-minute phone call. I want to pick up the phone sometimes and say, they tell me I look just like you, but I'm really starting to forget what you look like. I want to say, show me how to choose the perfect man. How to not flinch at PDA, because the last time I held a man's hand in public, he became public property. Instead, I tell him about the good times we had, the roller coaster rides,
Story time before bed. I say, Dad, I see you in my smile. They hold all the secrets I promised to never keep from you. I tell him, I became self-sufficient, Dad. I learned how to stand on my own 2 feet, but damn it, I need a father. Tell him, I kept my promise that I made that day. I turned my heart into a mason jar and preserved it there for the last 14 years. Because prison poles have never been enough to come between me and my father. You see, daddy-daughter weekends are now monitored visits by the government. Him on one side of the table and I on the other. And if they let me touch him, I grab his hand as tight as I can this time. It's been 9 years since I've seen him, but I gotta make him remember that I still kept my promise. Free Ricardo Ashmeade. Thank you.